What's up, everybody? I'm James. Welcome to Mechanical Mayhem, and welcome to part 31 of the Mechwarrior 5 story-driven campaign playthrough, where we watch all the cutscenes, listen to all the banter, talk about the mission, and about lore stuff, while utilizing stock mechs only. It can be hero mechs that we get, but we cannot make any alterations to the mechs at all. So that's what I mean by stock mechs. Like I said, this is part 31. We are nearing the end of our time on Courchevel, and we are very much in the end game of this campaign. We are basically 32 missions in, when you think about it, since part 1 was 2 missions, so that's a lot. Definitely should not be understated. I'll be bringing it up again later during this mission. So, time to strap in and prepare for drop against the 5th ALAG. It's the last resort.
Everyone, we just got word from Khan Lincoln Osis. The Smoke Jaguar's fleet has completed its long trek across the Exodus Road. The fleet has just left Santander and now advances deeper into the occupation zone to rejoin with all garrison forces. This development only emphasizes the need to bring an end to this 5th ALAG business. If they still remain active in system by the time the fleet arrives, it may jeopardize our participation in the renewed invasion. Fortunately, we just received encouraging intel from our Comstar allies. Demi-Presenter.
Thank you, Star Colonel. Kuritan spies within the occupation zone have reported the return of the Kran Armada to the ISF. In response, we believe the DCMS has issued coded recall orders to all known operatives in the field. After consulting with the new Irkan, Ulrich Kerensky, Comstar has allowed these messages to be received by their intended targets within Kran-occupied territory.
After these messages were distributed, we flagged a noticeable uptick in intra-system dropship activity. I dispatched advanced recon units to sweep for evac points. We have verified that ALAG is assembling en masse at a dropship fueling yard on Courchevel's second moon.
Are they packing it in?
Unknown. For all we know, they could be amassing for an all-out assault before our reinforcements arrive. Whatever the reason, this is a prime opportunity to converge on the ALAG and end their threat once and for all. Cobalt, I'm assigning you the vanguard of this operation. You will take point and lead an advanced strike star to hit the ALAG head-on.
Understood. I look forward to ending this.
Good. Deal with this Raider scum. Failure will not be tolerated at this juncture.
All right. So we are basically amassing for a final blow against the 5th ALAG. As we heard, a recall order was given. Comstar consulted with the new Ilkhan, Ulrich Kerensky of Clan Wolf. He said, yes, let them have the order. We'll see basically who's mustering and we can deal with it. Which makes sense. You know, and it kind of highlights the fact that clan occupation doesn't mean zero other things are present. Not just in Smoke Jaguar's corridor, but in any corridor. So this is going to kind of see units flushed out to try and go to Inner Sphere Hell Worlds and reinforce, more or less. This is why the 5th ALAG is heading out. What's interesting is this kind of parallels the 5th ALAG and their involvement alongside the 14th Legion of Vega. And you're able to participate in that in Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries DLC. And Yuichi's going to bring this up later, so we'll see that. But right now, Yuichi brings up a good point. He was a bondsman. His bond score was cut. And Ezra, despite being whiny, makes a good point. That he's earned his place, his bond score is cut, and he's earned his place through combat. And what he brings up is his mother's lineage. What's interesting is the mother, or a female lineage, is taken as more important to the clans than father lineage, which is outside of things like the great father of Alexander Kerensky and the founder Nicholas Kerensky. So now we're seeing some serious firepower thrown against us. We've been seeing that in the form of mechs, but now we're having like a plethora of quad AC-2 turrets. We just saw a demolisher tank, which is twin AC-20. These are things we're going to want to prioritize to take down. The AC-20s are just, of course, big damage numbers, and quad AC-2s are going to be able to really whittle us down, right? Any turret you want to take down, you don't want to leave alive, but now we're starting to see things that will take as much priority as focusing on mechs. Of course, things like Marauder take priority, and Jaeger mechs and the like. As you can see, the Jaeger mech has burst fire AC2s, but it's got quad burst fire AC2s in this case. So it's kind of like that turret. That turret is like a value menu version of a Jaeger mech that can't move, so you want to take it down. We got plenty of firepower being thrown against us. Thunderbolts, Warhammers, Marauders, Jaegers. We're going to see assault mechs. We're going to see more ground and air assets because we're in the Hornet's Nest right now, right? They have been given a recall order and they're mustering to recall, so we're trying to eliminate as many as possible before some get away. Because invariably, stragglers are going to get out. Not so much stragglers. The stragglers won't get out, but we're going to have forces evacuate, but that's okay. We're basically taking them out of the equation by hitting them with such ferocity that their losses are going to be substantial that they got to lick their wounds. So there's a Zeus. It's an 80-ton assault mech. We want to take that out. A Marauder is a 75-ton heavy mech, which is just about assault mech status and its capabilities. So these are definitely targets you don't want to let creep around your flanks. So we want to focus on them. We have Igors that are quad AC2s. We're going to have Igors that are, I believe, dual AC10s. The VTOLs, or the helicopters really, they're about the only things you can kind of let linger a little bit without too much worry because they're not going to be as equipped dangerously. They're still going to hurt you, right? Everything hurts. There's nothing that doesn't hurt a mech that's being fielded against us. But the point is that those are probably the only things I would let kind of sit as we just had an engine kill and whatever else. So here's what Yuichi's talking about. They're going to cut and run, and which is exactly what happened. And you can participate in that Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries DLC pertaining to the Draconis Combine. And this is all part of the lore of what's actually going down, only I don't think Yuichi was a character until this game, which is fine. In any case, we see nice growth as the star goes, right? Because Yuichi is a freeborn warrior, and freeborns are viewed very poorly by Clansfolk Jaguar in particular, and just the clans in general typically have a low view of freeborns. And we see that we have grown to fully kind of accept Yuichi as one of our own, and we get the understanding that he could initiate trials, and everybody refutes his claim as a warrior, and we would fight on his behalf, which is pretty cool. I enjoy bringing up Port Arthur here that just happened, because Port Arthur is where Mech Commander 1 takes place when you're striking back against Clansfolk Jaguar, so invariably it will be taken by Clansfolk Jaguar, but it doesn't happen just yet. But it will soon in terms of the timeline. We won't get to that in this game. I do like the overall delving into the ALAG now and why, right? I mean, it was summed up pretty nicely by Perez. As much as we may not like him or what have you for his atrocities on Edo, or atrocity on Edo, and his really bloodthirsty nature, this mission really kind of sums up why, Ezra's whiny and we have to follow what's going on here. And that's because we want to be part of the invasion. We are Trueborn warriors. Ultimately, we are looking to be part of the invasion, which is why Jaden says, where do you think they'll send us next and all that. We need to secure a place by taking care of this, because the clans value results. All the clans do. If they showed up and we were still, in the middle of protracted combat against a 5th ALAG, that could reflect upon us poorly, and we could become garrison duty style forces and lose our frontline status. So we don't want to do that. Hence why we're fighting so fiercely and taking our orders seriously, despite the fact that Perez isn't exactly on our list of forces we particularly enjoy, or not forces, officers we particularly enjoy. In any case, here comes the Jaeger mech, all up in our grill. I enjoy the Jaeger mech's design, but it is kind of, I think, lightly armored for its size. In any case, as you've been noticing, my ultra autocannons I've been firing off pretty rapid fire status. There's another Igor you don't want to leave up for too long. Quad AC2s are dangerous for picking apart armor. But as you can see, I was able to really rapid fire the ultra autocannon 5s pretty long there. That really does help chew through armor, but it's also gonna, chew through your ammo. So pay attention to that, especially in longer protracted engagements. But we definitely want to make use of that here, since the Direwolf comes with ultra autocannons. Their whole shtick of ultra autocannons is that you can rapid fire it like that. If you compare standard ultra autocannon fire to LBX, I do believe LBX is naturally a bit faster. In any case, though, I spam fire it a lot. I also stay pretty much zoomed in a lot because there's almost no reason not to. I enjoy being zoomed out and seeing everything, but in the cockpit and whatnot. But when it comes to this combat, we have such a meager zoom that staying zoomed in, you almost can't tell you are zoomed, right? Which I would love for a patch to happen for that. In any case, we gotta basically stop the Leopard from taking off. I don't know if there's a background internal timer, but I never let the fuel tanks last long enough to really find out. So even these harasser tanks and other tanks that are normally not equipped too heavily, we see have a bit more punch in them. Like that's an LRM-10 on that harasser. Granted, it's not the most dangerous thing. Those quad AC2s are more dangerous, but we're seeing everything kind of up the ante on what they're being equipped with. So, between the mechs and the ground assets and even air assets, we have to be very careful. Heavy mechs, I don't think we're going to see any mediums. I could be wrong, but I think we're just going to basically see heavies and assaults for this mission. So what I like about this is not just the mission itself, but through the banter and what establishes it in the objective briefing, that's the word I was looking for, is the sense and scope of the invasion being renewed. It's about time, right? This has been the year of peace, as it's known, as they elected a new Ilkhan and the clan invasion fleet had to come back. So we're trying to clean up all loose ends, so when they show up, we can just immediately bamf off into invasion status and secure our place there. One thing about this campaign is that, and this isn't a bad thing, we just basically force the Leopard to stand down and surrender. Now the Leopard, by the way, is Aerodyne style dropship that the clans also used to make use of before the broadsword really took over. Anyway, I like how Yuichi's pretty determined to get justice on the 5th ALAG. I just like that bit of character development and detail. Now, with the campaign itself, one of the things about this campaign that I was impressed by in my first playthrough is that there were a lot of missions as well as cutscenes. Wasn't expecting the level of cutscenes that we got. We're going to have one after this mission. And the amount of missions I was surprised about as well. I'm not sure why. It's not like... I guess because, like, for example, Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries, the actual campaign missions, they had a decent number, but it felt like you had a lot more because you had to do a lot of grinding to just build up your arsenal and build up your rep so you can then unlock the next campaign mission. Here, it's just on the rails, mission to mission to mission, story stuff, story beats only. So the sheer amount we got, I mean, we're on part 31, excuse me. Which means we technically have done 32 missions in this campaign. That, I think, should not be understated or underappreciated. That's a good number of missions. And it's not like, oh, go do something for 5 minutes and that's it. These are well sustained missions in terms of length and capabilities and even difficulty, especially on higher difficulty levels and whatnot. For sure. And we're not done yet. So by this time, I knew we were definitely in the end game. We unlocked all the mechs, right, by this time. But my first playthrough, I wasn't sure where they were going with the story. Not in a negative way, more so in a, I don't know what's going to be the end for us in this campaign, because I'm like, there's no way we're going to go all the way through to the Battle Takaid, or however you pronounce it, against Comstar, because that's going to be a lot of just massive time jump stuff. And we haven't really been time jumping. Minor stuff here and there, right? In the beginning and then to this segment of Courchevel. But the point is that I had no idea where the end point was going to be. And it felt like we were basically wrapping up Courchevel here, where this more or less being the last time we're going to deal with inner spear forces on Courchevel. So I was thinking maybe this is towards the end. Whenever you have a dropship to deal with, that always feels kind of endy, and that's fine. So maybe, there's like a couple more missions left on Courchevel, and that was it. I was thinking by this point, and I wasn't like upset, nor was I upset when the game continued. Right? If the game ended on Courchevel and that's it, I think it would still be an equally fantastic campaign experience and a fun game. But we do go beyond this for a few missions, which is also very cool. In any case, my point in that tangent was merely that I really wasn't sure just how much time I had left in the game, but not in a negative way. I wasn't feeling like, oh no, they didn't wrap up anything. And maybe that's because I am familiar with the story of the clan invasion. We've known about the story for literally decades, and I'm a fan of Battletech since the early 90s as a kid. So I knew what to expect. But even outside of that, when you just look at what's going on, this is a pretty good wrap-up of stuff if this was going to be the end point. I just wasn't sure if it was going to be. It can be hard to tell. So, but in the best of ways, because I was getting both the feeling of if we ended here, not just literally this mission, but on this planet, I would have been satisfied with the story experience. And if we continued, I would be equally satisfied, and also even more so because more time to play. So I do appreciate just the way the campaign played out. I like this campaign concept of just pure story like this. There's no filler, just go in and do stuff. Now, this story is not made up for this game. This has existed, like I said, for decades. So I'm not saying that the story is perfect. This definitely suffers from early 90s storytelling that happens at times. So I think you know what I mean if you read any kind of sci-fi novel-y stuff from then for like game settings and whatnot, or even kind of recall the fluff of like 40K from this time period or whatnot. Things have definitely developed better as time has moved on. And this game, yes, is considered apocryphal in terms of lore, meaning it's not something to be taken as truly canon, but a representation of the canon. But I think some of the stuff they do to update the story a little bit in certain places has worked out really nicely. And, I definitely appreciate that. In any case, what I'm saying is you're going to... I just deleted that thing from existence right there. But you're going to have the typical, potential concerns of story and storytelling and plot that you're going to have from any 90s game sci-fi. But I think they do a good job of both representing that and trying to update and improve it just a little bit. So it works out quite nicely here. In any case, one thing I'm going to be doing far too often towards the end of this mission is activating my emergency heat procedures. They are really generous with overheating in this game. I will give them that. We don't shut down unless you kind of do override stuff and whatnot. It makes it a little bit easier, admittedly, sure, but I think it also is a nice representation of clan technology. Not that this is actually a thing. Their mechs are just as prone to overheating if you're not careful and shutting down because of it. But when you factor in that this game is showcasing clan tech and just the range advantage we have and our capabilities, our mechs being able to prioritize shutting down certain systems to cool down while still letting them be mobile just feels very advanced and very clan-like, so I appreciate that. So the Union is their command dropship, and we are trying to disable it. But as we can see, they're actually throwing medians at us in the form of Shadowhawk. So I stand corrected on my prior statement earlier. I forgot about Shadowhawks because, well, they are medium mechs. They're 55 tons, so they're 5 tons shy of being a heavy. And Blackjacks we've seen before too, so I don't know why I thought that. I'm pretty sure I said that right after destroying a Blackjack. Um, but in any case, Blackjacks and Trebuchets and Shadowhawks, we can see they're throwing at us. Blackjacks can potentially dish out decent damage. Shadowhawks are almost heavies and can be kind of tanky. It's hit or miss. So yeah, I guess they do throw some mediums at us. They're basically trying to throw anything they can at us. Blackjacks, Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts are heavy. Whatever they can throw at us, they're trying to throw at us to buy time for their union to get out of here. So, you know, Hunchbacks are mediums, but they're such a classic staple of hard-hitting forces that it's not unexpected to see them. So I guess they do throw mediums at the end towards us. Thematically, though, it makes a lot of sense. So while I do stand corrected, it makes sense, you know, at this point that they're just trying to keep us at bay as best they can. So, hey, mediums. You definitely want to prioritize Hunchbacks. If you let them run amok in your on your flanks or just stand uncontested, you're going to notice the armor percentage on your star suddenly drop out of nowhere because they're going to mangle things. But honestly, concentrate firepower on the right torso so you can at least cripple whatever's there, and you're going to be pretty safe in dealing with the rest of that Hunchback. So we got to destroy the fuel tanks that are piping in the remaining fuel and necessary power, obviously, for the dropship. To try and cripple it. I wouldn't get too close, right? I was probably as close as you want to be when you do that right there, because this stuff does explode. And I'm destroying stuff so I don't accidentally walk through things that explode, because I've done that far too often in Mechwarrior games. So while we destroyed the fuel, their reactor is still spinning up. They're going to do the best they can and get out of there with whatever they got. So here we have a bunch of assaults. We see a kind of, we're basically dealing with the remainder of their defense forces. Zeus's, Victor's, you definitely want to take them out. The Victor also has a AC-20, also right torso. Also take out that torso first to really help cripple the Victor. So now we gotta take out the weapon pods, or whatever you want to call them. These are not clans, but they're drop ships, so they're gonna have plenty of firepower. So you definitely want to take it out. So here we are. We have Gerber in an Annihilator challenging us to combat. What is interesting is, I do not believe you can actually order your star to attack them. I don't think they will. It's an Annihilator. It's got 4 AC-10s. You want to be careful. Especially because you're going to be pretty banged up by the end of this, potentially. All you gotta do is really focus on it, though. The armor is strong, but a Direwolf has so much firepower, especially a Direwolf Prime like this, that you could just whittle it down quickly. But you don't want to face tank 4 AC-10s. It's going to hurt. So the dropship's taken off. We're not going to be able to shoot it down. Even though I am doing damage, as you can see by the reticle going red there. It's not, we're not going to be able to take it out of the sky. So, with that said, we have successfully finished the mission. You can see my executioners are hurting. We had a lot of AC-20s at the end there to deal with. In typical game status, you know, we have a order of operations when it comes to audio chatter going on. So even though we took out the Annihilator, you know, a bunch of time ago, not a bunch, but like maybe a minute ago, we had to go through all of the audio first, and then we finally got to his being taken out, which is fine. So while we didn't take out the dropship, we have effectively crippled the 5th ALAG. Now we're going to see Perez's ruthlessness, although I do understand what he's saying here. Right? This is a full-on refueling station that completely aided the 5th ALAG. So I understand Ezra not liking that. None of the star really does. But guess what they did? They aided and abetted an enemy. Guess what that makes them? An enemy. It's very ruthless. I get it, but I also understand that I understand this way more so than destroying that city and, of course, the destruction of Edo. So, not liked, but effective and makes sense when you think about it in a purely military logistic level of you aided the enemy, so you are now an enemy combatant.
Everything okay? You seem out of it.
Yeah, just a migraine. It will pass.
Seems like these things are getting worse. Should I be concerned?
Neg, my body's still adapting to the neural implants. It will get better.
What? Mia. The stories I've heard about those things. Side effects they can cause.
All risks I'm willing to take.
But why? Those things are meant for warriors who want to keep their edge for a few more years before they die, or age out of frontline duty. But you? You have your whole career ahead of you.
You still fail to see it.
See what?
Jaden, this invasion will forever define the clans, and I do not intend to be left behind. The future leaders of the Jaguars will be the Rice Stars emerging from this conflict.
We're on that path now.
Are you serious? Our codices are tarnished after what happened at Edo. We have leaders like Perez to thank for that.
If anyone is going to make a name for themselves in this war, it will be us.
I agree. But I do not trust Perez and Wimmer. Not after Edo. Or after what happened to Liam.
What can we do? We already tried standing up to Wimmer. Look where that got us.
That is why I got these. When the Armada returns and the invasion resumes, these will give me the edge I need to take my future into my own hands. Hopefully make this clan better than what it is. To hell with the cost.
Do you really think that'll work? Hardening yourself to forge a better future for yourself and the clan? Ezra thinks the Smoke Jaguars will never change.
Jaden, I love you both. But you and Ezra can be so naive at times. The way of the clans rewards those with the strength and conviction to take charge. One day you two will have to step up and decide what kind of future you're willing to fight for. No matter who stands in your way.
When that day comes, will you fight with me?
I would want nothing more.
Interesting closing sentences from those two, but I really like that cutscene.
Smoke Jaguars of Courchevel. I, Star Colonel Anola Atwater of the 4th Nova Cat Guards, challenge you to a trial of possession for this system. The Nova Cat lays claim to this world, and all bounties that spring from it. What stray kids dare to oppose our will?
And we get the Nova Cats. Nova Cats do not like Clan Smoke Jaguar, and Steel Vipers do not like Clan Jade Falcon. And where did Clan Wolves Ilkhan Kerensky put them? With their hated clans. So now we have this to deal with. We have Nova Cats vying for possession of Courchevel, and they're issuing a trial of possession. This clearly, to me, smells of Ulrich Kerensky politicking type of situation is going on here. But it throws a curveball. But we do have reinforcement, kinda. So now we got to deal with them. And that's for another episode, of course. But I like the cutscene between Mia and Jaden. They're Sibkin, right? So they love each other like family, and I like that they can bring that in, and it's not just grr, war, we're emotionless, we're faceless. I like that, you know, these are humans still, and they have a personality. So I like that altercation there. We learn a bit more about the neural implants. I understand not trusting Perez. The Wimmer not trusting, I mean, Wimmer made total sense in my personal opinion, so I just feel like that's just the naivety of youth, perhaps, showing through. But a cool bit of dialogue, and now we got NovaCast to deal with, so that's going to be fun. In any case, though, the fifth ALAG is taken out of the picture, so thanks so much for stopping by, and we will continue on in the next one. Take care.